Well, while I am at it, and I have a horrible case of while I'm at it disease, so I pulled I got that rod out of here that goes back this way, and what that does, and also had to take the air filter housing off to get to it. So while that's all out of here, and the hoses are out of here, I figured you can get to the upper bolt easily now, the starter. I figured sitting in a box for a couple of years has been this gear reduction starter from British Parts Northwest, and I haven't installed it. There's nothing wrong with the starter in the car. I just like these because it takes less power to crank the engine. If I have a hard time starting the car, I get many more cycles out of it getting it to start. There's no instructions came with it, but I just got off the phone with British Parts Northwest just to make sure. And the main battery cable goes here, and then the white and white with the red stripe to activate the solenoid goes there. They do include this pigtail, which will engage in there, and then you can clamp that onto the white with red. I think with the Spitfire, I just put the male in. I didn't want to cut my wire. We'll see what we do with this one. But this is a bit of a booger to get at the starter motor in a TR6. But I think while I've got this much apart, I'll go ahead and do that while I'm at it. So the first step of the actual install is I'm going to go ahead and take the positive cable off the battery. I know this cable's a mess. That's previous owner garbage that I've never cleaned up either. That I need to get to. So I'll take this cable off, and then I'll also take the cable off. It's on the top of the starter. I don't know. So there's a better shot. So there's a better shot of the wires. The main battery cable is right here, and right behind it, right here, is the solenoid wire. So which goes right to here. So we'll take these two off. Okay, all the wires are now disconnected. So I'll put the nut back on. So now I've got to get at that bolt right there. Get the light on it. Got to get it, that upper bolt right here. This one right here, and the one underneath the car. Get those two out, and that should let the starter release. So this upper one, I can get to it with a long 9/16 end wrench, and then the outer one with a socket on a 9/16 socket on a universal joint. Putting it back in there is going to be another story. Okay, with a jack stand and a jack under the frame, I'm going to come up and I'm going to do this bolt right, the bottom starter bolt right there. Okay, the secret sauce for wrenches here appears to be I've got a ratcheting wrench on the front, and I've got a straight wrench on the back. See if you can see here. Oh, we're looking too much. So I've got a straight wrench on the back and a ratcheting wrench on the front, and the ratcheting wrench just fits nicely up into the slot between the oil pan and the oil pan and the gearbox. So that's the secret sauce to get two wrenches on those bolts. Got the both bolts off. So now I should be able to just reach in here and give it a little pull and a tip, and out she comes, like that. There we go. Okay, the next issue with these gear reduction starters is they're adjustable. There's a clocking to them in these 2 Allen wrenches, and you can adjust this like this. My Spitfire one was not clocked right. It was not set right. So I'm going to have to check and see if this one is. It appears to be okay. If I orient them both the same way, the solenoid seems to be up where that one is. So I'm going to try it first the way it is and see if it works. And this is the correct way. This clocking is right, but the trick is it goes in this way with the motor down and the post up. Since the post is up and going to be really accessible, and the wiring is going to be really accessible, I'm not going to worry about. Sometimes you put the wire on first in some because it's just hard. The other thing is that this was pushed on really crappy, and I fiddled with it and fiddled with it and fiddled with it and finally got it right. So if you've got new paint, I would be really careful here. I have old cruddy paint. The TR3 and the Spitfire have gotten precedence. I haven't gotten to this one yet to fix things up. So there it goes. In she goes. Just like that. So when you got it in, you can see the solenoid wire pointed up. So that fits nicely there. So now I need to put those bolts back in. That's going to be a fight. Okay, that upper bolt is kind of fiddly. I just kind of hung it in there, just set it in there. It's not actually fastened. I'm going to go for the lower one first. And a little trick I picked up somewhere along the way is when you have a fiddly bolt to try to hold, is put some tape around the nut and then stick it in your wrench, and it'll just stay there. You can hold it up there, mess with it and so on, and you don't have to worry about it falling off. The lock washer is another story. You could double side tape that and put the lock washer on it, but I don't think I'm going to need to in this case. So I'm going to go under the car and do the bottom bolt first. Okay, I was actually able to get that bolt, the bolt and the nut on with just my fingers. I didn't need the tape trick. The other thing to be careful of as you're tightening that up is that does fit. It fits into a hole like this, and you want to make sure that you've got it right. And so you reach up and just push up on it, just push up on it, and make sure that's fully engaging the hole correctly. I just made it firm. I didn't tighten it all the way. Now I'm going to do the top one, do it firm, and then I'll go back and forth and torque them both. So let's see if I can get my hand around that back side of this one. This one's going to be the pain in the butt, I think. Okay, the tape trick was necessary, but that long wrench wouldn't let me get by the throttle shaft, pedal shaft. So I had to use this little one, but this little one fed down in there, and if I looked at it and just finagle with it, it took me about 5 minutes to get it lined up. But finally I got it lined up, and turning with my hand on this side, I got that bolt in there. So now I'll be able to switch over to the longer one, the big 9/16, put the socket on this side and tighten it down. With the starter motor being smaller in diameter, I didn't need to use the universal on it to get this top one. So so I've got them both on there firm. I'm going to go get my torque wrench, find out what the torque setting is, and torque it in. Okay, my torque setting is supposed to be 34. Now you always want to store your torque wrench not in tension, completely loose. And also you want to pick your torque wrench that where your specified setting is close to the middle of the range is what you've got, so you might need multiple torque wrenches. There's 25, and loosen that. There's 30, and there's 35. It's supposed to be 34, so I'll set it back. Okay. There's a lot of talk about calibrating torque wrenches and making sure your torque wrench is in calibration and all that. Well, one of the ways to do that is have two torque wrenches, one that's known good, and do the same bolt and make it click. The other way is to lift a weight at 1 foot. It's exactly the right weight for the torque setting you've got. I don't have a lot of throw here. By using that long end wrench in there, I got it trapped. There it is. And I'll just double sure. Yeah, there's 34. Now I'll see if I can get to it from underneath. If I can't get the wrench on it, which I don't think I'll be able to, I'll just have to guess. Well, the good news is, with the torque wrench coming from the front of the car toward the back, I was able to get into it like from an angle like this, and this wrench up here through the exhaust pipes, and by one to two clicks at a time, I was able to get it to torque to the 34. One of the reasons I'd like to buy better wrenches is that the ratchet is, you get more clicks, and sometimes you just get, when you're just in that one click scenario, it's hard. But okay, it's all torqued in. Now all I have to do is wire it up, and I'll be good to go. Okay, I'm now going to connect the ring connectors down there onto the terminal, but before I do, I'm going to clean them up, and I keep a can of this electronic cleaner to spray it, and I'll put a piece of paper towel around behind it, or spray the paper towel and clean it. If that doesn't get it clean, I've got some fine emery cloth that I'll use immediately to get that cleaned up. And I did not choose, so this comes with a pigtail, and this pigtail engages the spot on the starter. Get my finger down there. Engages this right here, this connector. I just choose to take the male connector and hook it in there. I don't want to cut my wires or anything. I could put a male tab on there and then create a positive engagement, but that's not going anywhere. And so these are obviously quite dirty, so I'm going to clean them up with that contact connector and hook them all onto the terminal right here. Okay, so something else I noticed is that this is the main battery cable, and I noticed that any which way I try to put it on this terminal, it's going to come awful close. It's going to come awful close to the body here. So I'm going to rebend this. I'm going to bend it so that it has a good sharp bend in it that lifts it up away from the body. I'll probably turn it over. Might turn it over like this, and then turn it over like that, and then straighten this out, but put the bend in it the other way to keep it away from here. I think I'm also going to put a little bit of plastic on or around this part. I have some plastic left over from the wire harness clips, so I'll put some of that on there too, bend this up and keep it away from the body of the solenoid. A little bit of this comes from it's these wiring sleeves from the roadster factory. These are from my TR3 actually, but they'll fit on the wiring harness, and I'm just going to go ahead and slip that on there. I've already bent it, so I'll go ahead and slip that on. So now you can see that that's a far better arrangement there. So now it's bending up away from the body, and I got a little bit of extra insulation, and there's the insulation there. So now I'll just go ahead and put the other rings on. And it's one more thing. So the this thing came with a lock washer and a nut, and with the 3 connectors on there, the lock washer and the nut, it won't all fit. The lock washer would have worked on there, but I'll probably take it apart, put the lock washer on now that I got it on there. Just those connectors were bent enough that it took up the space. So anyway, I'll put the lock washer back on, but to see the finished installation of the gear reduction starter. It sits much smaller in there. That's nice. As we were tightening down, we made sure we got it good and tight on there, so we didn't put it on crooked. I can't start it quite yet because I'm working on everything else, and timing chain isn't on yet. So when I get the timing chain on, when I get that from the roadster factory, it's on order. It will. I will go ahead and add to this video. That's a project I've been wanting to do for a couple of years, and just poor TR6 doesn't get the love everything else does.